into the space from, let's see. All right. Okay, perfect. So we are right at the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and jump on in and get started because we've got a lot of ground to cover in a little bit of time. And I don't want to waste 1 minute of that. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Danielle Nicholson. I am the operating officer here at A Call to Men, and it is my pleasure, my absolute pleasure, to hold space, to hold the framework of our conversation for today. A couple of things as we settle into the space. I'm pretty sure at this point in our Zoom journey that we all know how to use Zoom, how to manage being muted and all of that good stuff. But we do have ASL interpreters with us today, and we're going to do our best to make sure that as we're moving through our conversation that they're pinned so that you can see them and everyone can make use of that service. But in the event, because we're managing a lot of different things here with these live events, so in the event that we're not moving as quickly as you need us to, I want to give a couple of tips on how you can make use of the ASL interpretation. So you see some slides here popping up on your screen. So if you go to that participants list in the bottom of your Zoom bar, you'll click participants, a whole list, a whole window of participants will come up. You'll scroll through that list until you find our two interpreters, and their names are ASL Lucy and ASL Shonda. And if you right click on their names, you should be able to see that pin option. You can pin them, and then you'll be able to see them at all times as we're moving through our time together. Again, we're going to make sure that they're hanging out with us here on the large screen, so you shouldn't have to do too much of that, but we want to make sure that folks know how to use that service if you need that. All right, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into our conversation here. If you have been around A Call to Men for any bit of time over our now 21 years, then you know how intentional we are about making sure that we center and uplift the experience and the voices of Black women. For us, it is about accountability, right? As an organization that primarily works on engaging men to end men's violence against women and girls, we recognize that we can't do that without being accountable to those that are on the margins of the margins. And so today we're taking a real concentrated opportunity to make sure that we are tuning in, uplifting, and listening to the voices and the experiences of Black women. So as we get into our time, there's a couple of things that I want to put out in the space to kind of guide us through. It's been a minute since we've done a community conversation, and usually we'd kind of check in and bring your voices in, and we'd have opportunities for Q&A and folks to raise their hands and put their voices in the space. We're not going to do that today, right? We're just holding space for Black women to shine. We can sit at their feet, where we can lean into their wisdom, their brilliance, and their expertise, right? It's real important as we're having this conversation, because so often folks say, listen, listen, listen. And there tends to kind of be like a full stop at the end of that listen. And that's not what we're looking to do here, right? When we think about one of the main reasons as to why we're holding this space, it's yes, so that we can listen, but also so that we can listen with the intent to move, that we can listen with the intent to act. So I encourage you, as you're here in our space, make use of the chat, but also get your notebook out, take notes, think about how you and your organization, your sphere of influence, can take the information that's going to come out today from these amazing women and apply it in a way that makes sense, right? That moves us further along our journey towards collective liberation. So we're listening, but we're listening with the intent to act and listening with the intent to move. All right, so enough from me. I'm going to go ahead and announce our panelists for today. And we'll bring them up here on the large screen as we go. So we've got a number of brilliant women that we're going to hear from today. The first is Chanel Haley. She is the gender and policy manager. She's a gender policy manager at Georgia Equality. We have Scheherazade Tillet, who is an artist and co-founder and the executive director of A Long Walk Home. We have Reverend Aleese Moore-Orbih, who is the executive director at California Partnership to End Domestic Violence. We have Joanne Smith, the founding president and CEO of Girls for Gender Equity, and Gwen Wright, who's the interim executive director for the New York State Coalition Against Sexual Assault. All right, so beautiful. I see Gwen popping up here on the screen with me. So I want to go ahead and jump into our conversation for today. And I know that we have all seen, whether it's on social media or it's on a shirt or it's in a news article somewhere, right? This idea of listening to Black women, that Black women are going to save us. I feel like after every election, we see these poll results of how everybody voted, and it's Black women saved this state, Black women did this, Black women did that. All of these things that we know to be true, but there's a real burden that comes with living under that theme of leave it to Black women, they'll do it, Black women will save us, all of that, right? So one of the first questions that I want to start with is, what is the cost to Black women with bearing that burden, right? With being tasked to lead these justice and freedom-based movements and to serve as a bridge for other marginalized communities in those justice and freedom-based movements. So Aleese, I would love to bring your voice in to kind of start us off. What comes up for you?
Thank you. So first I want to invite everyone to start answering that question for themselves. What has it cost you as a Black leader in this movement? And so love to hear from you. I will say, both from a personal perspective and from a professional perspective, the first thing obviously it's cost us is our health. It's cost us our physical health, our mental health, our spiritual health. It's cost us. It's also cost us our identity. Because of what we do and we do so well, we're misrecognized or invisible as who we really are as human beings, as beautiful Black women. Instead, we're stereotypes or whatever kind of labels they want to give us: superhuman, badass, I don't know, girl power, all those things that make us seem like we're superhuman or we're not human at all, rather than just beautiful Black women that we are. And then I'm going to be honest, in this field, in the anti-violence field, I've been here too long. Yep, I said too long. I know that it's cost us love. It's cost us intimate relationships. It's cost us the relationships with our children. I know so many women in this field who are leaders who don't have the relationship with their daughters they wish they had, or their sons that they wish they had, because they spent so much time and energy doing this work. And so it's cost us love. And I think professionally, it's cost us the ability to go deep in the surface areas that we've created, that we've lifted up, and that we've educated people about, and we've shined the light on, but and we haven't had the opportunity to go deeper in those areas to really look at what that really looks like for us and work at the strategies very specifically for us, because we have had to then, once we unveil stuff, then we're responsible for unveiling it and applying for Black, Indigenous people of color. So for everybody, we got to do it for everybody. So we rarely get a chance to go deep into our own stuff, what we really need very specifically, because we then have to carry everyone else across. And so it's like, I remember years ago when I was in graduate school, a professor, I went to seminary, and a professor said to me, and it's an old biblical phrase, to cast your bread upon the water. And then when you do that with faith, it comes back 100-fold. So my professor told me, he says, Aleese, you're moving so fast, you're doing so much. You cast your bread up on the water, but you've moved on to the next thing, and now somebody's got your bread and gone. And I was like, whoa, that is just, I dare you, stranger, tell me such a profound truth about my life. And so, but I think just not for me, I think for Black women in general that are leading in this work, we're doing so much and moving so fast that the blessings, the returns that should be deposited directly into our lives, we don't get those because we're moving on to the next thing and carrying people along the other people along the way.
Mm-hmm. There's so much there in everything that you just shared, and I'm seeing a lot of love for you and a lot of agreement there in the chat. And what that brings up for me, right, when I think about the urgency with which Black women have to move, right, is also this thing that I feel like a lot of folks have been leaning into here in years recently around rest and radical rest and making space for mental health with, and that's not always a luxury that as Black women that we have an opportunity to do. So Cher, I would love to bring your voice in here around how can we as Black women, how can we work for, or to be even more intentional, how can we war for our own self-care and radical rest?
Yes, I think that's really a thing that I've been really, as an artist, as a co-founder of Along with Home, celebrating our 20th anniversary, really been thinking about and imagining and working really hard to create like a sustainable movement for ourselves. The exact things that you were talking about, that we just heard about the loss of what the cost of like in this work as an activist, you know? And so I'm really thinking about imagining a space where we are cared for each other, we care for ourselves, a space of rest, and doing this work differently. And I want to kind of begin. I was thinking about these two images that I have like in my office. One is Martin Luther King, and then this is him in a swimming pool, and like images that we don't see, right? We are constantly seen over and over again, him at a podium, him locked, you know, marching. And I've taught those like images with our young people that we work with, and, you know, in terms of like how to build a movement. But I'm really interested in that, really, honestly, after doing this work for so many years, of like, wait, why didn't we get to see these images, right? Like he helped us like integrate integrations in terms of swimming and in the pool. But like seeing Black people in leisure at rest, right, is important. And I'm going to show you, because I'm an artist, so I'm like, I have to lead with some images. Rosa Parks, this is an image of at Library of Congress, Rosa Parks doing yoga. And so there's so many myths about yoga, of Rosa Parks, that I would love to spend a whole panel on talking about Rosa Parks and her long work in this movement, not as a old person she was like in her 40s on the bus, but like her longevity in her 20s doing this work and till 92. And I really think it's because she like incorporated these things that we don't get to see, right, of activists. And so like, I think as an artist, like I think I spent so much work like thinking about, you know, Along with Home, our mission is to like end violence against women and girls. And I think we spent a lot of time thinking about solutions around that and healing from that, but not thinking about the end goal. Like, what if we actually were to achieve ending violence against women and girls? What would that look like, right? And so I'm at this like radical space, you know, of thinking and dreaming, of asking this question, like literally asking this question, like where I am, about not what necessarily freedom looks like, but what are your moments? When was your last moments of freedom, and what does that look like? And that's sometimes different, right? Because as Black people, as Black women, or as Black girls, or gender non-conforming youth, often it's like a struggle to kind of think about those. Freedom is not something that we have. So we like thinking about the moments allows us a tangible imagination to kind of think that. And then as an artist, like I kind of try to create the spaces And as an activist, and I encourage us all on this call for us to like think about what does it mean to like, what is that freedom space for you? And what would that mean to really work on making sure that that is sustainable, right? For us to kind of all imagine that. I think the second thing, and I'll wrap up, is that I think what has given me a sense of care is really doing this work in sisterhood. And really like thinking, like I started this organization with my sister, who's a co-founder, Tillet. And so we like, literally from the beginnings, I've had literally my sister. And what, as a Black feminist, like what does it mean to really embrace sisterhood, right? To do this, like there's no way the sustainability of the work, I could do this without coalition building, without done work with Joanne, and we'll talk later, but like Call to Men in terms of siblinghood. But what does this really mean to actively like know that someone has you? Yeah, so it's kind of how I'm thinking about, to literally like something as an artist, like I'm creating, I think like art allows you to imagine. I can't imagine doing this work without art, because it becomes a self-care for the work that we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I think, and I was talking with one of our trainers in our Black Women's Affinity group just last week, and we were talking about how we move through this world being containers for everyone else and their stuff. And we need spaces, we need that sisterhood, we need affinity groups, we need just places where we can not be a container for someone else, where we can just be, where someone else can hold us, where we can exist, where we can step away from the work for a moment. But even in that, it's challenging because it's all around us. The work is us, it's in us. So yeah, thank you, Cher, for putting all of that in the space. I want to move us along a little bit to go back to kind of the history of this work, right? Of gender and racial justice movements. And one of the things we know is that Black women have always been at the forefront of those movements, that Black queer women have always been at the forefront of those movements, and Black trans women have always been at the forefront of those movements. But the support that Black women get doesn't trickle down to Black trans women. It doesn't trickle over to queer women. It's segmented all over the place. And Chanel, I would love to bring your voice in here around the experiences of Black queer and Black trans women being at the forefront of these movements. Would love to hear from you.
So thank you for having me. Let me start off by saying that I think that when we talk about the forefront, particularly with Black trans women, it's sectioned off. It also depends on what part of the country you're in, right? Here in the South, there has always been a shutdown when it comes to trans women, period. Across the board, even today, I live in Georgia, one of 3 states that has no statewide protections when it comes to LGBTQ or any minority group at all. Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama are the 3 states in the country that have 0 statewide protections. And our federal government has not taken this up. So that I want to start there with that. So when there's places like, New York and California has always been the forefront, Georgia has always also been way behind in that. Even when we're talking about LGBTQ rights, trans women were told you cannot be part of this movement at all by gay men, gay women that said you absolutely will hurt this movement. And so that's, and that moved along all the way up until you see the passage or the equal rights when it comes to marriage. And so now the pickup game is happening and a lot of movement around trans equality across the country for those states, especially for those states that have not passed legislation in regards to employment, public accommodations, and housing when it comes to trans people. So there's that. But then when we talk about in the modern times, when people mostly see, and you see all these visuals about it, I think about back here in Atlanta, back around in 2015. So 2015, we're seeing Black Lives Matter happen across the country, right? The catalyst of that is seeing unarmed Black men being killed by police officers. And that's what people think about. And that's where that went. Black women as a whole were thought about secondary, because there were also Black women who were being killed by unarmed police officers. And then as each state started creating, each city started creating their own groups, their own affiliates to that, then it became about who's included in those conversations and who they want to stand up for. I'll tell you, here in Atlanta, it was a coordinated, purposeful effort to make sure that the Black queer community was included in the creation and also within a strategy about Black Lives Matter Atlanta. I'm one of the founders of the strategy infrastructure around that, as well as the administrative committee around that. And I in preparation to this, I went back and looked back at our 12 principles that we had. And here were our 12 principles. It was empathy, loving engagement, restorative justice, diversity, globalism, Black families, Black villages, intergenerational, trans affirming, queer affirming, collective value, and Black women. And I would tell you, we had men who left the group and started their own groups because they were not for the trans affirming, queer affirming, and Black women part. Because on television, and what we knew is that Black men were kind of the catalyst of the images that we saw of unarmed Black men being killed by police officers. So they felt that talking about anything besides Black men was out of the ordinary, and it was actually crossing the line. And so then you move on into our direct actions and actually, doing protesting and wanting to speak up. You didn't see that same thing when it came to when a trans woman was murdered, which is almost in every state that this happens, right? There was no protest around that. Very few. It took months before a Black woman was murdered and people found out about it, and it caught steam on social media. So I think that the problem has always been is that we live obviously in a very patriarchal society, and if a Black man cannot see himself or his family within that situation, then out of sight, out of mind. And I would go past and say that's beyond just Black men. That's society, period. No one really recognizes and sees. And I know that Dr. Moore is going to speak a moment about a little bit about this. But here in Atlanta, I would tell you that Black lesbians were probably our biggest battle when we first started getting traction here in the South. That's actually how I actually got into doing this work. There was a Black lesbian, well known now, Simone Bell, first African-American out lesbian elected to a General Assembly in the country, who stood up and marched with us back in 2009. And because she did that is why I actually then learned about running a campaign, worked for a campaign, so on, so on. So here comes my career. But, and I understand Black women, as was said earlier, it was a space that was limited already, and you can't be part of this space. And that's how that was for the country. And it wasn't into, these past 10 years to where as a trans woman, we're allowed to be in these feminist spaces at all. And so our fight has always been there. It's been in the back seat though, because people have feared that we were not allowed to be in the forefront because it would hurt the cause. And that's the same. We all know the story. Well, we should know the story of Barrett Rustin. Barrett Rustin was in the front lines also, but told, because you're a Black gay man, take a back seat. You're hurting our cause. You can't march with Dr. King. You're making him look bad, even though he's the one who's teaching Dr. King. So we've been there, and we will continue to be there, because many times the fight is very different in the sense, and I'll tell you my own personal story really briefly, is that I've never had anyone, when I say anyone, I don't mean a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a friend that I could call upon to help me through the struggle and trying to get writing to get to. And that's as something that is always been when it comes to being a part of the community, because you're shunned from your family and friends when you're out and you're living out proud. And so we have to band together and create our own families and then march and do our own work ourselves. And many times that's a conjunction with, and we concede and sit to the back. I actually commend many times about this current generation who is not willing to concede. That's what's very different about me in my 40s, coming out and transitioning back in 1998 versus people today. They are very adamant. No, I need every policy, every rule, every book, everything you say to include the terminology, gender identity, gender expression, gay, lesbian. They want it queer. You know, they have redefined the word queer. For me, it's an offensive word. They have redefined this. And so when I'm at college, university speaking, I'm actually in awe, and I'm always checked all the time that I am old and in the past, that they are really, you know, moving forward. And I commend that. And even with this, I commend that this is a space where I'm allowed to even be part of, whereas somebody younger than me would like, it's not a privilege to them. They're like, why should they not be here? And I think we need to understand that about generational. That conversation came up with our Black Lives Matter Atlanta, something that we have learned. Anyone who's ever done activism or organizing knows that we judge the generation before us, but that's something that happens every time, because the generation before them, they judge them also. And we always do that. But we realize we always come back to the same spot, and the formula is pretty much the same throughout. And so we have to keep pushing through.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much there in what you shared. One of the things that really stands out is this this lack of support and lack of visibility. And we recognize that that doesn't just come at the hands of men, but it also comes at the hand of cisgendered women. And Gwen and Aleese, I would love to hear your thoughts around that lack of support and the role that cisgendered women play in visibilizing our Black trans sisters.
Oh my God.
My bad.
I mean, I can start. And what I would say is, first, I'm going to give appreciation to Chanel for not only sharing, but also calling us out and calling us in. So I want to just say that. But I think that that's a really good point to make, Danny, about cisgender women. Certainly, when we think about historically, yes, we have our Bayard Rustins, but we often forget about Martha Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, and we forget about their leadership in the gay movement. And, we need to be proud and support those women and not see them as just kind of an accessory, because I think that that's what we often think about. We think of them as accessories. And I want to say something about cisgender women in particular. As a gay woman, I think that cisgender women are often threatened about their own femininity when they think about gay women. And I think that it drives home, we often think about that in terms of looking at the larger population. And certainly when we look at the issue around heterosexism and homophobia, we often put that in the laps of men who are threatened by the femininity of gay men. But I think that cisgender women are often threatened by the masculinity and femininity, the conjuncture of those two issues. And so it just raises for cisgender women that concern about their own their own femininity, their own masculinity. How do they bring that to the table? And, you know, we have to get past that. We have to understand that we all walk in this world and in this life in the skin that we are in. And as Black people, we have had to embrace that so many times and so strongly that we can't just cast our LGBTQI friends, partners, relatives, associates out in the wind. And so I implore cisgender folk to really take a look at that. You know, as a gay woman, as a lesbian, I've raised 3 children. As far as I know, all 3 of them are cisgender, and they get that and they understand that. But they walk in a world that is shaped by a lesbian family. And so they can't be ignorant to it. And they carry that wherever they go. My grandchildren, my granddaughters talk about that in their classrooms, in their camps. And it's just part and parcel of who they are, in the same way that they would say, you know, my mom is a lawyer. they carry that as a privilege and are proud about it, and will challenge other people who find it to be contrary or negative in any way. So I think that we are, you know, I would love to say that we're at a crossroads, but I don't think we're there yet. And I hope that as we move forward, we will get there. I think we're closer, but I don't think we're there yet.
Thank you, Gwen. Excuse me. And Chanel. You know, we could talk about this subject here we could do a conference, be here all week and talk about this. I want to, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Elle, founder of Marsha P. Johnson, to Babi Saucedo for Trans Latina Coalition, to Imani for the National Center of Lesbian Rights, to the Salsa Soul Sisters in Brooklyn, who are not a formal organization, but some badass women making change, whose shoulders we stand on, and to Tangela Doan, who is the CEO of NRL Voices out of New York. So these are all badass women who are leading this work around LGBTQ rights, everything from health to anti-violence work. But I think I want to say 2 things. One, I think in Black community, we struggle for cisgender folk. I want to say that every time somebody refers to me as cisgender, I'm appalled. I'm pissed, actually, I'm pissed because of the implications that go with that. The lack of intersection, thinking when people think that they can refer to me as cisgender. The assumption that people think they can assume that I'm cisgender. As a Black lesbian, been a lesbian since I can remember, about 5 years old. And growing up on the edge of poverty, some of the assumptions that go with cisgender just don't apply. Those are not realities for me. They're just not realities for me. So I think, 2 things. I think that the 2 things we have to struggle with within Black community is, one, it all comes from patriarchal influence, but one is our religion, our homophobia that comes out of our religious base. So all of us, whether we grew up in Black church or not, it's in our DNA. Big mama, big auntie, however long we were dragged to church, whatever neighborhood we grew up in, somewhere we've got influence around Black theology. Somewhere we have some influence around what it means to be Christian and Black. And it's so Black theology, and which most likely includes some thinking, some belief system around our sexuality and what is right and what's wrong. And so I think that's the baggage that cisgender, whoever they may be, women carry, is the internal struggle still with what do I believe about God, and then how does that frame how I see other people? So whether that's consciously there all the time or not, I think cisgender people, women live from that perspective. I think good conversations always help to unpack that and help people get to a different place. But I think that's a baggage that Black cisgender people just carry, knowingly or unknowingly, carry. And then the second thing I would say, which also still comes from patriarchal thinking, is the way in which we silo human beings and silo this work. And so going back to Chanel's point, where very early on, Black lesbians were like, okay, this is no place for trans women. They couldn't see the possibilities of what could happen if we unified. And then, of course, what happened was then the white boys took it over and everybody was left out. And so that is the thing to me that keeps happening. Every time we silo ourselves, every time we compartmentalize ourselves, whether it's the framework in which we do this work or the way we socialize, every time we compartmentalize ourselves, others, our communities, our strategies and approaches, we dig ourselves into a deeper hole, which is so dark we cannot see out of. And I think that is one of another issue that cisgender women carry around, because they've been socialized, whether it's been academics or movement building or whatever, is to compartmentalize. We break it down into small pieces that I can address, I can understand, I can do something about. But every time we do that, we move further away from the reality where people really live and what the impact is on our communities. And then therefore what real solutions could come forward.
Yeah. So clearly each of these questions could be an hour-long conversation in and of themselves. I'm looking at the clock here. Joanne, I'd love to bring your voice in here and hear from you and share around working with Black girls, and specifically, what are some of the fundamental teachings that you're doing in your work and that we all can learn from and begin to apply in our work with young Black girls?
Ooh, first and foremost, I forgot I was on a panel. I'm literally sitting at your feet and appreciate that. Yeah, I think so far those first 2-3 questions could actually be their own, and look forward to that happening. Thank you so much for pouring so much in, and as Black women do, always pour so much in. I know you want me to talk about young people, but I just have to bring in Audre Lorde, and knowing it was just her birthday and thinking about how her analysis around difference and acceptance, the impact that the movement had on her life, and her writing the Cancer Chronicles, and the way in which she then started to talk about, how racism, misogynoir, didn't call it that at the time, but homophobia impacted her. And we understand the stressors that impact then what becomes the disease throughout our life. And so in thinking about Audre Lorde, one of the things, within our organization at Girls for Gender Equity is that we teach is around difference and around acceptance, and around meeting young people where they are and understanding that that's what makes us, right? We embrace difference and we find strength and celebration in difference. And so young people are able to come to us as, Black young people, and Black young people who hopefully by the end identify as Black feminists, But also within their time frame with us, between the ages of about 14 to 24, get to figure out their own gender identity. They get to figure out their own queer identity and sexual identity, get to figure out who they are and how they get to show up over and over again. But more importantly, they get to be met at their youth development stage. Just this past week, through the Black Girl Freedom Fund, we were raising $1 billion for Black girls. We had the Black Girl Freedom Week. And the week is really an interruption during Black History Month of, the narrative that it's just these Black adults that made the history, an understanding that Black young children have always had influence within the movement. And Layla Motley who was a 21-year-old novelist who wrote Nightcrawler, did the keynote. And two things she said that really stood out to me was, we owe Black children the gift of childhood. This 21-year-old who, came to that within her childhood before this age. And that I learned that respect will not always be offered to me, but that doesn't stop me from demanding it. So for me, that was learning, relearning every day and learning again that we have to learn from children, right? So when you talk about what do we teach them, is that we're listening, that we are reliable adults and partners towards liberation, and that what they're presenting and how it is that they show up is being heard. I say, doesn't mean they're the Holy Grail. No one is. It means though that they get to be seen, take up space, and we get to figure it out together. And we get to respect, what young people have to say and make room for that. And that's a practice, that's a dance, that's, of course, a value of seeing our Black young people within our space and creating more space for that to happen. Meaning if we bring them then to a table, right, where we are advocating for legislation, that table is ready to receive them before we bring them there, and that we're in partnership in that way. And so I'll stop there because there's so much more that we lend to the practice of being an intergenerational movement building with young people. But I know Sister Cher has so much more to add as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you, Joanne, with thinking that each question it's so heavy in so many ways, had so much to say, so dense. Like I have my pen, I'm writing down, I'm like a scholar on this call as well as a panelist. So there's just so much, and it just talks about the depth of this work and just allowing us a space to kind of unpack some of the things that we've learned along the way. I just to add anything, because this is the heart of our work with Joanne's, with the work we do with Black girls. I always say that Black girls are the center of our village. We heavily depend on Black girls. We couldn't see it more during the pandemic, where Black girls were essential workers, but they were also the ones who were like tutoring our neighborhood children, and as people who for the virtual learning, they were they also were like taking care of their grandparents or their parents who were sick and impacted by COVID. They were being recruited in nursing homes when no one wanted to work in nursing homes, and when the facts were out there around the high deaths that were occurring, young people were being recruited. And at the same time, they were on the front lines, right? With our Black Lives Matters movement. We would not know about George Floyd if it wasn't for a Black girl who was filming it. So they were really often not credited and oftentimes not taken care of for the work and the contributions they have made to our society and getting us to where we are today, And so I really think that we need to step back and I just think there's so much there that happened during the pandemic that I ask us, we created a report about Black girls, and there's lots of other reports now. We spend a moment to do that really because we knew that this was a moment that we need to look at. And if this wasn't a moment that we needed to examine and recover from, Black girls were always at at a space of needing resources, under-resourced, us doing this work, we're under-resourced, right? And that's why we created the Black Girl Freedom Fund in the first place. And so I think we need to like look, examine mental health. I can't tell you, like with adolescent girls, period, where suicide, not only of Black youth are attempting suicide, that have higher numbers of completion, right? And we're kind of seeing that, I think, even in the public with public cases, like we're seeing a completion at a higher rate. So I do really think that as we move towards, a conversation post-COVID, that we really need to unpack what was happening before, but also what created during this time, and galvanize resources for those things.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I know we're very quickly approaching the hour, and I want to make sure that we get to a couple of questions in particular. The work that you all do, we've got policy, we've got folks that are engaging youth. I mean, the spaces in which you all are showing up and doing this work is just, it goes far and wide. So I want to fold some of our questions together and ask about some of the barriers that we experience in doing our work from white men, from white women, from other people of color, and then from Black men as well. What are the barriers that are coming up as we think about doing this work as Black women? What are the barriers, and what are we not getting from those that are claiming to be in allyship with us or should be in allyship with us? So I'll put this question out to everyone as we wind down. Chanel, I saw you unmute. You want to get us started?
Yeah. I would not be the Sagittarius that I am if I did not point out I have been sitting here watching the participant number who's signed up, and it is majority overwhelmingly women. So I don't know how we're supposed to get men to relate, understand, participate, support if they're not even showing up to the table. How can you get them to be an ally? And there's more to it than a man sitting here saying, "Oh, these women just complaining about what they want again." But the conversation has to start somewhere, right? Which is what we're doing here. But they also have to be here to listen and hear it. Okay. Then they get their backs. We can be offline and have our conversations and negotiate back and forth about what they are willing to listen to or do or not. Go for it. But to me, that's the first thing. They're not coming to the table. And if people, the allies, people who say they're allies, in the back, in the corner somewhere, or typing it somewhere, say they're allies, they're not even coming to the table to hear what has to be said, what needs to be said. Then I can't see moving forward at all. They're not hearing what the concerns are, what the complaints are, what the history is. That's one thing that I have learned in my life when it comes to working, is that, and business and personal, is that if you don't know the history, then moving forward is going to be difficult for you, especially understanding that history repeats itself. And so that I want to start there. I think that's an issue for us. That's an issue, is that they're not at the table. They're not here to even listen to anything we said today. Which I'm glad it's been recorded so they can hear it again. So push it down their throat. But
there we go. Let's go, Joanne, and then Gwen.
Sure. I'll just jump in and say, when Black men are organizing, especially when we talk about organizing around racial and gender justice, that they need to know that their work is to organize towards ending patriarchal violence, towards ending patriarchy. Their work isn't only to center us as, okay, we're uplifting Black women and the work that's happening, but to have public outrage and strategic interruption, strategic burning the hell down of systems and practices that won't systemically lift us up, right, for years to come. I don't mean a moment of the spotlight. I mean, institutional practices and systems that allow for, generational wealth to grow, that allow for generational safety within Black families that center Black women. So that public outrage when Black women are sexually assaulted, that public outrage when Black women are killed by police, like too many times we're shouldering not only our Black men, our elders, our children, the whole community. Like we show up from social media to the streets, whether we're the ones who organize the march, right? Not necessarily the ones who are only getting arrested. I say only getting arrested, but then the ones afterwards who have to then pick up and clean up and take care of and bail out, et cetera, et cetera. And so that public outrage, I always watch my timeline, very similar to Chanel's, like, who, Black men, where y'all at? What you saying about this? What do you have to say about this? This impacts you. And that needs to be just as loud as the violence that happens, and just as loud as we are when the violence happens to them.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Gwen?
And I think that white women, Black men, white men need to get past their fear of us. They have feared us historically for hundreds of, if not thousands of years. The image of the strong Black woman did not, it resonated with the entire population, not just with white folk, but Black folk as well. And we particularly saw how that resonated or how it affected the community in the 20s, 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, when Black men couldn't get work, but white women could. And so white women had the money, but Black men felt that they were disenfranchised and blamed us for a society that we didn't create, but we fell into. And so I think there's a level of fear that we need to get past and understand that as Black women, we want to hold up our brothers as well as our sisters. But as Joanne and Chanel said, you got to come to the table and you got to be willing to put some skin in the game. You can't just show up and expect us to do the work. You have to come in and be willing to work side by side with us and understand that a partnership is about sharing resources, not hoarding them. And I feel that we have done this over and over again, whatever movement we've been involved in. I don't have to go through all of the ways in which we've been pushed back and pushed aside, and our voices have been silent for centuries. And every time we step up and say, we're here and we are doing this work, and we're willing to do this work side by side and equal with you. I've been reading a very interesting book that really highlights the work of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and James Baldwin's mothers. Looking at how those mothers created the men that we celebrate. But nobody talks about that. Nobody digs into what we sacrificed and what we gave up to do that. Malcolm X's mother, who was institutionalized because they thought she couldn't raise 9 kids on her own. What is that? Seriously, what is that? And so I think that we need to understand that there is a level of fear that we have to confront every time as Black women, every time we step out. And folks need to understand that and step aside and let us be in partnership. We're not trying to take over. We just want our fair share, just like everybody else. But why do we have to fight twice as hard? We've heard this over and over and over. We have to fight twice as hard to get half as much.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stop it.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you, Gwen. I'm seeing a lot of folks in the chat asking about the name of that book. Gwen, do you have that handy?
I do not have it handy. I believe the name is, you know what? I will step away and get it and put it in the chat.
Perfect. All right. Well, as we're winding down our time together, one of the things that I recognize is that it is not very often that as Black women that we find ourselves centered in the way that our voices and experiences have been centered on our call today. And so I want to make a public invite to the Black women that are here with us. We've got over 150 folks here on the call. So to the Black women that are here with us, you've seen some information in the chat, and Morgan's getting ready to drop it again around our Black Women's Affinity Group. So this is a monthly gathering by Black women, for Black women, supported by a call to men. It's free, it's virtual. If you go to our website, it's all the information is right there on the front page. So you can click that, you can register, you'll get all of the invites. We would love, love, love to have you there, because it can feel a little jarring to be centered in this way, to be in this experience. And we recognize that, but we also know that we need it as well. So I want to make sure that I invite everyone, all the Black women, to join that affinity group. So Gwen is writing the name of that book there in the chat. And as she's doing that, one of the things that I also want to do here at A Call to Men, we're real intentional in all of our spaces as we think about accountability to the margins of the margins and accountability to Black women. We always aim to make sure that Black women speak first and Black women speak last. That's a part of how we aim to be accountable in our work. So that's how we aim to be accountable in our work. And so, Gwen, I know you're typing the name of the book there in the chat. And whenever you're ready, I would love for you to give some last words to all the beautiful people here. Oh, I think you're muted there. There we go. Oh, you're muted one more time. Let's see. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay. Thank you for that. This has been such a rewarding conversation. And I am always humbled by the voices of Black women. And I am also always saddened by the lack of opportunity we have to speak our truth. And so I applaud A Call to Men for creating this forum. And I look forward to similar forums going forward. But as we leave this space, I can't help but implore us to continue this conversation in all of our circles. And I especially hope that Black men will honor that and share that with their colleagues, Black and white, because until and unless this conversation moves forward and we break down the gender barriers, we will stay still and not move forward in action. We started this conversation talking about how this creates action, but that's up to us. So I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate this opportunity.
Beautiful. Thank you, Gwen. Thank you everyone for joining. You'll see a couple of links there in the chat. You've got information and social media handles and website information for all of our amazing panelists. Gwen, Cher, Joanne, Aleese, Chanel, thank you so much for lending your voices, your wisdom, your expertise, and your time to be here and to teach us. This has been such a gift, and we are incredibly, incredibly honored. All right, everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Be well.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Be well, be well.